One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of election, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition. It is July 24th, 2013. It's the Wednesday edition of DTRH. Tonight I'm going to be going over a few things, but I'm going to dedicate at least about a half hour to 45 minutes to a large problem that seems to be rearing its ugly head, and we need to, A, make everybody aware of what's going on, first of all, let them know that it's happening, and then B, at least give out what we can right now as a warning and what to be careful to look for. Now, what would I be talking about? I'm talking about the powers that shouldn't be using disgusting child pornography to set people up. Now, as you know, I played a couple weeks ago the audio Luke Rudkowski did from We Are Change, and he said that somebody tried emailing him child porn pictures to his email. And if he had clicked on it, it would have downloaded them. And then when he came back in through the United States and they checked his computer, they would have found it and they would have arrested him as, a pedophile. And that obviously would curtail his activities as a journalist, and it would also curtail his entire life. I mean, that would really put everything on hold. So I played that audio. Well, there's been another attempt at this on two more people, two more well-known individuals, Dan Johnson and Stewart Rhodes. Dan Johnson founded People Against the NDAA, and obviously Stewart Rhodes is the founder of Oath Keepers. So these two were just, there's an attempted setup on them. I want to play the audio clip. There was a quick interview with them. They did like a breaking announcement of it this morning. So I have the audio from it. It's going to take the whole the long full segment plus a little bit of the other segment, but I want to get this out there. I want people to hear what happened, and then I'm going to play the audio of Luke again so people can be reminded as to what happened to Luke, just in case you didn't hear it the first time, or just in case anybody needs to understand. You can see how it's connected, especially if you hear Luke's account now from a couple weeks ago, and then you hear what they went through. And they actually reference what Luke went through. So we'll be back in 59 short, quick seconds. Don't go anywhere. This has to be exposed. This is one of the powers that shouldn't be weapons. It's disgusting, and we need to stop it. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. If you go over to federaljack.com, in the upper right-hand corner there's the widget for the show, the archives, the pop-up player, and the Listen Live page. Go to the Listen Live page where the chat room is at the bottom, and look in the chat room. You'll see at the bottom of the chat, there's 2 links I dropped in there. Those are just two of a multitude of articles that a contributor that we've got, who goes by the pen name of Benjamin Franklin, has been writing for us for a while, and he's written exclusive articles all about this stuff, pointing out how they're using child porn to set people up. And this was before Luke was, the attempted setup on Luke, and a couple weeks before the attempted setup of Stewart, Rhodes, and Dan. So go over to the chat room, click the links. I'll throw in fact, let me give you the titles out really quick. If you want to look them up on Federal Jack itself, you can just use the horrific tag of child porn up in the search thing, and it should come up with all these articles. One of them is titled, "A Reporter Has Decided to Report His Findings to Congress That ICE and the FBI May Be Setting People Up with Child Porn." And then there's another one that says, "Child Porn is a Weapon, a Proven Fact, and Tips on How to Avoid the Sex Offender Record Causing a Weapon." And there's others, and it's got different videos. It's got the video of Luke in there, and I'm actually going to play that audio again because it actually, you'll see how it coincides with what Stewart Rhodes and Dan Johnson, what the attempt on them was today. It all, you'll see it's a pattern. Like Norman Mineta said at the 9/11 hearings, he said, when the first plane hit, I thought, okay, horrific accident. Second plane hit, I thought, okay, horrific coincidence. Third plane hit, I said, oh, okay, a pattern. So, this is the third attempt, right? That at least that we know of. First, it was, there's 3 of them. So there's Luke, and then there's they were trying to get both Stewart and Dan. So that's 3 people. Plus, I know other activists or people that have spoken out that have been hit with this too. So we all need to pay attention, and this is not a joke. I mean, look what they did to Scott Ritter, the UN weapons inspector. And I'm not saying that the guy was lily white or anything, but UN weapons inspector, he was speaking out against the Iraq war, no WMDs, and suddenly they find child porn in his computer, and he's found guilty and locked up. And maybe he was a dirtbag. I don't know if he, but it's just there are certain people that they seem to find child pornography on their computer suddenly. And here you have a multitude of cases where it's actually being the attempt of planting it on their computer. So let me get to the audio of the breaking news that they released this morning. And this is Stewart Rhodes, Dan Johnson, and one of the people against the NDAA, their tech guy, and the person who runs Storm Cloud's Gathering, the YouTube channel. And he's the one that got this conference call together, I guess, when it first happened right off the bat, and they were able to get the information out there this morning right on YouTube. So I want to play the audio for you. It's going to take at least 2 segments to get the full conversation, because it's about a little less than 21 minutes in length. But I want you to hear what happened, what they said, what their tech guy said, because he pulled it apart. So here you go. This is Stewart Rhodes, Dan Johnson, and the proprietor of Storm Cloud's Gathering, the YouTube channel, and Dan Johnson's IT guy, all discussing the attempted setup with child porn today. Listen.
2 activists that I really respect, Stewart Rhodes, founder of Oath Keepers, and Daniel Johnson, founder of PANDA, People Against the NDAA, have just been victim. Well, there was an attempted setup, an attempt to try to frame them for something that's very, very disturbing. And I want to go ahead and just hand the mic straight to Stewart to let him describe what happened. So go ahead, Stewart. Go ahead and let us know what happened there.
Well, what happened is last night, somebody using a Tormail account impersonating me emailed Dan Johnson, and in the email it said, "Hey, I've got new resolutions for you that a team of lawyers and I put together, and here they are," and there were PDF attachments. Dan saw it was a Tormail account, realized it wasn't really for me, and did not open the attachments. But he did consult his security expert, and he was able to determine that there, in these PDFs, embedded inside of them, were child porn images. And so what this was is someone was trying to get Dan to open up these PDFs and download child porn onto his computer. And so that was a direct attack on him, but also an attack on me because it purported to be from me and had my name embedded and Oath Keeper's name embedded in the files. And so that's the backdrop. And what this really is part of a continuing program. We just saw this happen to Luke Rudkowski on July 3rd, almost the exact same thing. Someone claiming to be a whistleblower that had photos of the Bilderbergers, incriminating photos, emailed Luke Rudkowski and tried to get him to open the images, but he was able to use a viewer to see that they were child porn and didn't open them. Now, the same thing that was done to Luke has now been attempted against Dan Johnson, and by extension me, because they tried to impersonate me. And so that's kind of the backdrop of what's happening here. And what we want to do is warn against this, but we'll let Dan explain the particulars.
We also have the email here, so I'm going to go ahead and put that up here on the screen so that people can see it. And we have the screenshots from up close, and we also have more specifics on the actual attachments here. So there were several files, and as you can see, they were really attempting to make it look like it was a communication from Stewart, and they actually did enough research to actually use his correct phone number and to frame it as if these were activist-related activities. So Dan, could you go ahead and explain a little bit from your end what you saw from this, and also maybe bring in Garrett because he was the technical analyst who looked at it.
Absolutely, I'll bring in Garrett for some more technical details on this. But last night around 8 p.m. Eastern, I received an email from someone masquerading as Stewart, a spoof email account, and did not open none of any attachments, was able to look at the text of the email, and it seemed to be from Stewart, but the first clue is the Tormail account. I've never gotten an email from him with Tormail and didn't expect to. And the second clue was a bunch of attachments, and I'm sure, as many people have heard in a lot of internet security, either seminars or videos or what have you, do not open attachment people you do not know, and open attachments you're not expecting. And so I did not open the attachments, and instead I sent them on to my internet security tech, and he was able to, he'll go into details on that in a second, but having seen what happened to Luke Rudkowski and having him post his emails and what he got, to watch out for something like this. And it was a little more advanced, though. They're learning. And this is a warning to activists. They're learning. It's a little more advanced because when Luke was sent the email, he was given images. The images popped up in preview because they just sent him raw JPEGs. Well, however, when I got this email, I only suspected there were images in there because I was sent PDFs. And as you can see in the screenshot, you're not seeing any preview here at all. Just a suspicion on my part because of what happened to Luke. And so I sent him over to our internet security guy, and what did you kind of note there?
So this is Garrett. You're the internet security expert for Panda. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. What we ended up finding is I took the files apart and embedded them. We found the actual JPEGs. And he is correct. You won't be able to preview these kind of things in your normal email clients or in your web browser. You actually have to download them onto your computer, which means the file is on your computer, and that automatically incriminates you, opened or not. And inside the files, I found some metadata showing the author was defrauded as Stewart Rhodes, and the company and the organization is registered to is Oath Keepers. So they did target both of them.
That's pretty bad, yeah. So
so what Garrett did, Garrett, explain what you did. You used a sandbox to look at these.
Yep.
And just give a little more detail on that, how that works.
Yeah, I set up a sandbox here on one of my computers, and I took the files apart. What I did is decompiled them. The PDF is actually just a container for the files and the metadata. So I took all this apart and I extracted the JPEGs themselves, and unfortunately I did see the media. And I did get to take a look at some of the more advanced metadata here, and they did hide a lot of keywords, and it seems to be targeted to be found. They left a lot of keywords that, I mean, if any forensics expert just did a batch search on all of the computers that you may have, just search blindly, he would find these extremely easily. And the way the PDFs are laid out, they seem to be uncompressed. So if they did any forensics on the hard drives, even if they were deleted, this would be very easily recovered. So they knew what they were doing.
So their intent was to get Dan to open them, and then that would create ghost images on his computer and metadata that could later on be recovered, right?
Yeah. Yep. If this data hits your computer or is viewed on your computer, that's it. It's on your computer until your hard drive is scrubbed.
One thing I want to...
So that was their intent. So,
Yes.
so even if he were to open them and they go, oh God, this is bad stuff, and delete it, it's now on his computer, and later on they could then go in and look for them or give a tip to the FBI or whatever that Dan Johnson has porn, and then they go and find it, and they find porn images on his computer, and then they find embedded in it metadata that says Stewart, Rhodes, and Oath Keepers was the creator, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And it seems like they exploited the fact that you guys are in constant communication, so they know the way your organizations function, and they know that you are in partnership. So it seems like they definitely tried to exploit that.
Right. And what's happened in the past with Dan and I is he runs People Against the NDAA, and I help write draft resolutions for state legislatures and counties and sheriffs to nullify the NDAA, and Dan's organization uses those resolutions.
Yeah, this is one thing I want to show people here because Panda has been working specifically against the NDAA, but the Oath Keepers has also been working against the NDAA. This is one of... Can you go ahead and explain... I'm going to show the billboards 1, 2, and 3, but you can go ahead and just explain a little bit about this, Stewart?
Right. This is the latest campaign of putting billboards. These are down in the Pentagon Station metro stop on the Washington D.C. metro line. And the goal is to create more Snowdens, to get more people who work for the government, whether they're in the Pentagon,
The ads or banners, whatever you want to call them, they say things like they honor their oaths, honor yours, refuse to violate the Bill of Rights, expose unconstitutional acts, oathkeepers.org.
CIA, NSA, any of these agencies to come forward and blow the whistle on unconstitutional actions or unconstitutional plans they have knowledge of. It's like Snowden did when he blew the whistle on the NSA spying on Americans. We think it's essential that those who have knowledge like that they expose it. And the government wants you to think that truth is treason, speaking out is treason, and the exact opposite is true. When our Constitution's under assault, silence is treason. That's the message to people. And we just launched this yesterday. Yesterday was our big official launch of this program. And, we, of course, the people in the NSA and the CIA and the intelligence agencies are probably not happy with us for doing this. So we don't know if whoever did this to Dan and by extension me, we don't know if this is someone inside the government or somebody in the private sector who hates our guts. But the bottom line is that because we're standing up against the police state, both Dan and myself, and Luke's the same way, because we're standing up against the police state, we're not popular with people who are allies or a part of the police state.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there because the break's coming up in about 20 seconds. But he's right. They are not popular, so they are being targeted. And this is not the first time. As I said, there's articles going back at least 6 to 7 months ago that were written on Federal Jack exposing how this was going on at a lower level. So obviously they've been experimenting with it. They tried it out on a few lower level activists that pissed off the wrong people, and now maybe they're moving on up the food chain here. You need to pay attention to this. Check your email. Do not open anything from a Tor mail account. All right, we are back. Before I continue the conversation with Stewart and Dan, because they referenced Luke's, the attempt on Luke, I should say, the Luke's video that they referenced. They referenced the attempt on Luke Rudkowski, and they said how it mirrored what they went through, mirrored what they heard Luke went through. So while that's fresh in your mind, I'll let them continue when we get back into the long segment. We'll finish it up. But first, let's listen to what Luke said. It sounds just like what happened to them. Listen, you'll see a pattern.
This is Luke Rudkowski of wearechange.org reporting to you from Europe, and I'm making this video primarily for my safety, but to also possibly safeguard you from being set up. And just a few hours ago, I received an email on my old private high school email. Not my work email, not my We Are Change email, but my old high school email. And the email was from an unknown client. It was from a Tor email server, and it had an attachment, and it said something about a leak. Now, automatically knowing this, I had to find a new laptop. I found another laptop that wasn't connected to me, and I looked into this email. The email specifically stated that this person that was sending me this email was a whistleblower, was a leaker, that actually attended the 2013 Bilderberg meeting, that he had raw JPEG pictures of everything that happened, of the attendees, and he wanted us to have the exclusive. He told us to download these pictures and to break the story to the world and show everybody what happened. Now, obviously, I was interested, and I scrolled down. Now, luckily, Yahoo email servers actually let you preview pictures before downloading them. And when I scrolled down, I actually saw graphic, horrible, inhumane pictures of child pornography. Now, if I would have downloaded these images onto my computer and I would have re-entered the United States, just like I will be in a couple of days, I would have went through customs. A few years ago when I tried to enter Canada, I went through customs, I was put to the side, and everything I had was searched, including my laptop, which was taken to the side and investigated by forensic scientists for 5 hours. Now, if this would have happened this time, and I didn't know about the rules and laws, I would have been automatically charged with a felony. Minimum 5 years in jail, maximum 20 years in jail, and I wouldn't have been able to plead my case until months later on. I would have been arrested, had to go to bail hearings, and then months after that, actually have a court hearing to clear my name of all misdoings. But this could have very easily taken away my work, my dignity, my freedom, my reputation, and destroyed my life. Very luckily that didn't happen, and I'm making this video to make sure it doesn't happen. But every year around June, right around the Bilderberg meeting, something happens. Last year, my friend Mike P. of We Are Change Milwaukee was interrogated by DHS about me. They were asking him questions about my whereabouts, what I was wearing. And then hours after that, me and my friend Tim Poole were pulled over by DHS at gunpoint and terrorized with by the Chicago PD. A couple years before that, I received death threats with personal information that nobody else would know. Even a couple years before that, my girlfriend started getting death threats. People started playing really dirty tricks. Now, my message to all the truth seekers and journalists and investigative reporters is be smart. Watch your back. But most importantly, never ever open an attachment that you don't recognize is from that you don't know. Follow me on twitter.com/Luke We Are Change or facebook.com/Luke We Are Change to see how this trip goes. And if something does happen, we'll make sure to post it on there. Thank you so much for your support. Wish us luck, and watch your backs.
Sounds just like what happened. Again, a pattern, ladies and gentlemen. You see it? I don't even have to jump up and down and scream and yell for you to see it. It's obvious that they're using this as a weapon. Be careful. Pay attention to what you're getting. Don't open things from strange people. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. So now you've heard the beginning part of this conference call announcement by Stewart Rhodes and Dan Johnson about them, the attempted setup on them with child porn on their computers. And then I paused it for a second. We went back and I played the audio from Luke Rudkowski from a couple weeks ago, and now we've established that there's a pattern. So now let's get back and let's finish up the announcement conference call from this morning with Dan Johnson and Stewart Rhodes about the attempted setup on them.
Yeah, I see this as a very disturbing trend. For anybody who wants the background on this, I highly recommend that you go do a Google search for attempted setup of Luke Rudkowski. Rudkowski spelled with Rudkowski, because it definitely looks like a pattern. And what's interesting is that there were some follow-up emails from Luke Rudkowski where he actually was sent a set of he had an exchange with these hackers. Maybe, Dan, could you explain what we're looking at here? Because you sent me these images.
And so essentially what we're looking at here is one of the warnings that kept me from opening the attachments in the email was watching Luke's video and following his follow-ups on this. These are images from emails that Luke received. This right here, you have the mobile one up. This right here from Luke is an image of the text of the email he got about the whistleblower, the Bilderberg conference. And then the other emails that you were just showing are after he went public. These are the emails he was getting from this person.
Yeah.
So they're mocking, they're taunting.
Yeah.
And
one thing I noticed when I read it is that it said that they were going to set up other activists. They actually said that they were going to go after all the big activists. And that was extremely disturbing.
Can you read that? Can you just read that section out loud? I've never heard that written.
I have to go find it now. Let's see.
So this is part of it. But potentially, this is just the same people doing the same thing.
Well, here it is, right here. It says, we plan to not just set you up with child porn, but every other alternative media founder and master on the planet. So right there at the bottom. So, I mean, that's whatever. It could be just this hacker talking tough, but this is a secondary attack, so we definitely know that there is a pattern going on here. I don't know for sure if it's the same people. But one thing I want to reiterate here is that whoever did this is a criminal. And if the government is participating in this kind of activity, this is just absolutely despicable, because that means that they're handling child porn and they're willing to access child porn and then send that to activists in order to discredit them. Now, I personally can't prove that this is government to do that, but who else has motive? And that's just my position. I'm not saying that anybody else in this call has that position, but to me, when I look at your activism, I mean, for one thing, Dan, your activism dealing with the NDAA is nonpartisan, left and right. People really resonate with that. Americans do not like the NDAA. So there's not very many organizations that I can imagine. It wouldn't be something like Anonymous or anything like that. Anonymous is completely against the NDAA. So the only people that it makes sense that would go after both of you guys is government. And that just, to me, is just an indicator of just how...
And it may not be government, because both Stewart have enemies in the private sector and enemies in the public sector. But
look at the demonization campaign by the SPLC again. Or Mother Jones. Unfortunately, in this political climate, you get people who are loyalists. Just like you had during the Bush years, loyalist Republicans who demonized anybody who opposed Bush as a traitor. We have the same problem now with people on the left. A lot of them, not everybody like that, but a lot of them, they perceive anybody who criticizes the Obama administration as being a bunch of racist, white Neanderthals, and that's just how they see things. So it's possible it's a private sector hacker. I just don't know.
And kind of that they use. I mean, this is a very, very dangerous method they use, because our society built on innocence until proven guilty. We've seen it with the word terrorist. The word terrorist, someone merely calls you one, and then the public perception seems to be, well, you are trial to prove. And the same thing with pedophilers. Same thing with child pornography along those lines. This is the type of thing that a government or a person would use if they can't discredit the message, and they have to discredit the messenger. And so it also kind of proves that our message about how dangerous the NDAA is, about how important it is to honor your oath, it kind of proves how much our message needs to get out there, that people are not attacking them, can't attack the message, so they're willing to go to this length to try to take out the messenger.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and there is a pattern, there's a history of like the COINTEL program, the 1960s and 70s against anti-war protesters, against Martin Luther King, against the Black Panthers. So there is that pattern of well-documented government intentional targeting of dissidents to snare them. So that is a possibility. We just can't prove it. So I'm not gonna make accusations I can't prove. Hopefully, if Dan takes us to the authorities and demands they do their job, they'll find out who did it. Hopefully, it's not one of them.
That's the thing that disturbs me, is just the fact that to try to get, and when you have a climate where the government is so corrupt, asking for justice is, this is why this kind of situation where you have such total lawlessness and these security organizations that can operate completely in the shadows is so dangerous and is so wrong, because now who do you go to for justice? Who do you go to? Who do you trust? That's something I wouldn't know how to handle this kind of situation personally, and I know you guys are going to have to deal with this on your own, but this is just really an indicator of where we are as a country, I think.
I mean, what's necessary for the people to understand is we're bringing this out to warn you.
Yeah.
Because this seems like there's a pattern. That's Luke Rudkowski, that's Stewart, that's myself, that's 3 attempted setups. It seems like they're a pattern. So far, they're failing. So far, they're failing at actually setting someone up. And we want to make sure they continue to fail. And we want to make sure, and hopefully the authorities are on our side. And hopefully the authorities will go out and for what they're doing. However, out there, and everyone who shares this video, everyone who likes this video, bring this video, because if you know someone in activism, this is beginning to be a pattern, and we want to make sure that we stop it in its tracks. Make sure this is one of the most unsuccessful attacks they can use because of how down and dirty. So kind of pay attention to some of the patterns we're seeing here. We're seeing a Tormail account. Okay, so you're going to watch out for emails from Tormail accounts. We're seeing an increased emphasis on attachments. So watch out. Heed the old advice about not opening attachments you don't know, and maybe even being careful about opening attachments to people you might know. Because, I mean, they tried to smear Stewart. They tried to use Stewart's name to smear and me. And so we're seeing a pattern of kind of a little bit broken English here. And not necessarily all of these are instantaneously this person is out to get you. However, it's important that we need to be ever vigilant as people in the liberty movement. We need to be ever vigilant against this type of stuff, because if we can stop this in its tracks, the authorities can stop this in its tracks. And if people are aware of it, awareness is the first defense. And awareness, if you guys are aware of this and people understand and are aware of it, then we can continue to stop this from happening to any other activist.
Any
hey,
final
Garrett,
words?
do you have any other? Well, I want to ask Garrett if he has any other advice for the viewers on security on the internet and preventing themselves from accidentally downloading something.
There's not a lot you can do except for just being smart. You have to filter your emails, filter your instant messages, anything that comes to your home that can be tracked to you. Make sure you know what you're getting before you open it. Your files, if they're executables, they're images or anything like that, make sure you scan them, because I have heard of some activists being targeted by viruses or malware, and they've been using that to inject whatever they need to onto their computers and possibly frame them. There have been things like that going on. You guys just need to make sure you know who it's coming from, and if you think you know who it's coming from, you're not absolutely sure, see if you can find an alternate way to contact them just to verify before you open any of the contents. You have to protect yourself. That's the most important thing.
Okay, thank you for that one. Stewart, you have any final words?
No, I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I think we have to presume that, as Dan said, they've never been able to directly counter our message, because our message is simply honor the Constitution, respect the rights of the people. And so, of course, they have to attack the messenger. And they've been doing this, they is anybody on the other side who doesn't like what we're doing. We don't know if it's private sector or the government, but of course they're going to try to smear us any way they possibly can. It's not a surprise. I think it comes with the territory. So if you're an activist, you should expect this, and you should take precautions and just be, have your head wrapped around the fact that eventually you're going to be targeted in some way. But just deal with it. You've got to speak up. If you guys let yourself be chilled because you're afraid to be on a list or you're afraid to be persecuted by this method or other methods, you've lost. If you let yourself be chilled like that, you're dead in the water. You might as well just kill yourself. If you're going to be a free human being, you got to be unafraid and don't be deterred. Don't let this kind of stuff deter you from being an activist. Just do it as smart as you can.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on and for putting out this warning. I think this is very important. You want to go ahead and give your website so that people can keep track of what you guys are doing? Start with you, Dan.
That's People Against the NDAA, pandaunite.org.
Pandaunite.org. Stewart, you want to give your information?
Sure, it's oathkeepers.org, and they can also go to the oathkeepers.org/expose, which is the landing page for these billboards we're putting up outside of intelligence agencies. They can go check out all the billboards.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll go ahead and end it there.
All right. So there's the interview with Dan Johnson of People Against the NDAA and Stewart Rhodes from Oath Keepers this morning on the attempted setup of them. Now, everybody pay attention. Anything from, like a Tor email or a Tor network or a type of email that you don't know, any email you don't know. Don't be opening things or downloading things. That's the first thing. Don't just be click happy. I know so many people that are like that. Oh, what's this click? Well, do you know what that is? No. Well, then why are you hitting OK? Oh, because isn't that what I'm supposed to do? It says I'm supposed to hit OK. Yeah, that's how you get, sucked into downloading things you don't want to download. Anything from malware to child pornography that you might not even realize that you've downloaded until you're, locked up for it and you're like, what? Yeah. And then your name's all smeared over the news. And how many months before you could go actually, plead before a judge? And then once the, they say, oh, well, there's enough evidence here. We're going to take it we'll go to a jury trial. Now you got to wait till your trial comes up. Well, how long could that be in the judicial system with all the people getting arrested for non-crimes? Not that yours would be a crime, but with all the other garbage that's in there, how long do you think it's going to take? Months. And you'll be sitting in jail, and you'll be labeled a sex offender. Yeah, they fare real well in prison. These people are scumbags. We want to talk about the real sex offenders, the people that set people up like this. They're the ones that kidnap kids, do god-awful things with them, sacrifice them in real human sacrifice and rituals to whatever their deity of choice is, whether it be Satan or some sort of reptilian or the Anunnaki or whatever. Absolutely disgusting. People, keep an eye on yourselves. Pay attention to what's going on. Seriously. Don't just download anything. If you don't know the person sending you what they're sending you, don't download it. It's as simple as that. If you don't know who sent it to you, don't download it. And even then, if you know the person, because look, it was him and Stewart Rhodes, check it. Be wary. Pay attention. Be on high alert. All right, we're going to break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are back. Final segment of the first hour, but we still have hour number 2 coming up. And get into some medical cannabis news. But first, I want to play something really quick for you guys. This is, and I posted this up on Federal Jack the other day. This is a clip, a little segment that from an interview that Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! Recently did the other day with Cornel West. Now, coming up in August is the 50th anniversary of the march, the Civil Rights March on Washington. Well, Cornel West, a man you would, logically think people would want to be there and speak, was not invited. Now, you could guess for yourself after you hear what he has to say about it, why he wasn't invited. But it's about 2 minutes, and I don't always agree with everything Cornel West says, but he's been calling Obama out, and nobody else has. And he's not kissing anybody's butt. He's being real about it. So I'll give the man his due. Now, I can't say that I disagree with anything you're about to hear him say. So maybe. No, not really. I mean, maybe one thing here or there I might say differently, but he gets his point across. The point is, it's Cornel West. If you know who he is, if you don't, go look him up. Anyway, listen what he has to say to Amy Goodman really quick as to what he would say if he were invited to speak, but he's not. Maybe you'll figure out why.
Let us tell the truth and get off this Obama plantation and say, you know what? We're dealing with criminality in high places, criminality in these low places, and let's expose the hypocrisy, expose the mendacity, and be true to the legacy of Martin. You know there's going to be a march in August, right? And the irony is, this is the march
of honoring the 50th anniversary.
And you know what the irony is?
I Have a Dream speak.
Brother Martin would not be invited to the very march in his name, because he would talk about drones, he'd talk about Wall Street criminality, he would talk about working class being pushed to the margins as profits went up for corporate executives and their compensation. He would talk about the legacies of white supremacy. Do you think anybody at that march would talk about drones and the drone president? Would you think anybody at that march would talk about the connection to Wall Street? They all on the plantation.
Are you invited?
Oh, can you imagine? Good God, no. I mean, I pray for him because I'm for liberal reform, but liberal reform is too narrow, too truncated, and of course the two-party system is dying, and therefore it doesn't have the capacity to speak to these kinds of issues. So no, not at all.
If you were invited to speak at the 50th anniversary celebration of the I Have a Dream speech, the March on Washington, August 28th, 1963 is when it happened, 50 years ago, what would you say? Give us a few minutes.
I would say we must never tame Martin Luther King Jr. or Fannie Lou Hamer or Ella Baker or Stokely Carmichael. They were unbossed. They were unbought. That Martin was talking about a beloved community, which meant that it subverts any plantation. Bush's plantation, Clinton's plantation, Obama's plantation, and the social forces behind those plantations was have to do with Wall Street, have to do with multinational corporations, and we're going to focus on poor people, we're going to focus on working people across the board. We're going to talk about the connection between drones, which is a form of crimes against humanity outside of national borders. We're going to talk about Wall Street criminality. We're going to talk about how we ensure that our gay and lesbian brothers and sisters have their dignity affirmed. We're going to talk about the children. Martin Luther King Jr. was a free black man. He was a Jesus-loving free black man. Will the connection between drones, new Jim Crow, prison-industrial complex, attacks on the working class, escalating profits at the top be talked about and brought together during that march? I don't hold my breath, but Brother Martin's spirit would want somebody to push it. And that's part of his connection to Malcolm X. That's part of his connection to so many of the great freedom fighters that go all the way back to the first slave who stepped on these decrepit shores.
Now, I actually have to say I actually couldn't have said that better, or, I wouldn't have reworded it listening to it again. He hit the nail right in the head. A lot of people might not have understood what he was saying, but he's basically, when he said that the two-party system is dying, well, if you listen to what he was saying before about the plantation, he listed both sides. He said, the Clinton plantation, the Obama plantation, the Bush plantation, both of them. And on and on and on. Gee, I wonder why he wasn't invited to speak at the 50th anniversary. I guess it's unpopular. Because I know you're gonna see videos of the march, and you're gonna see people, we have the first black president, 50 years later, the dream came true. So they don't want anybody to tarnish that and say, are you kidding me? This guy's a puppet. He uses drones. He's pushing this agenda. Regardless of how he says it, they don't want him saying it at all. Traitors. Disgusting behavior. Dr. King would be appalled. Absolutely appalled. Tarnishing his legacy like that. I'm willing to bet money that that's the angle they're going to go. You watch. Either way, they're still not letting Cornel West speak. And, gee, I wonder why. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. It is July 24th, 2013. Give a big shout out to the NSA, FBI, whoever that private contractor is that's recording all internet broadcasts. If you don't know what I'm talking about a year and a half ago, the FBI gave out a contract to a private contractor somewhere on the East Coast, I can't remember exactly where, to record all internet-based broadcasting. So I just want to give a big shout out to whoever is listening and recording this tonight, or whoever, maybe it's computers recording it, and later on somebody listens and transcribes at a later date. Hello, big shout out. And by the way, if you guys could just do everybody a favor, since it's job security, go to unboundradio.com and there's a donation button there. Donate $20 or $30 to the website. Since you're listening, right, and you get the money to listen to us from the taxpayers, you might as well recycle it, right, like the circle of life. So spend like $20 or $30, donate, and hey, it's job security. Now you know that, we'll be on air and you can listen for that much longer and bilk the government for that much more money. So unboundradio.com and help out. And that would be cool. In fact, if you guys want, maybe you guys could just go and, if you'd like, you could buy a membership, and then you can just download the archives whenever you'd like, and you won't even have to listen live. But I guess that then you wouldn't get paid, and yada yada yada. So, of course, I'm being slightly sarcastic, but not really. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hour number 2. I got a ton of things I want to get into, including, apparently, the DEA has been raiding cannabis dispensaries in Washington State. And even though Washington State made it legal, I didn't see any state police or sheriffs trying to stop it. So I'm going to get into that. Just absolutely disgusting behavior. And, of course, the state stands by and just, it's the federal government. You guys are cowards. That's all I have to say. Well, I'll get into it. There's kind of a funny, interesting story I want to share with you guys about the DOT trying to stop some graffiti, but you'll see. Well, you'll hear why they want to stop the graffiti. Either way, by the news piece being done, it's going to bring about, and you'll hear when they interviewed the local people on the street, you could see that there were a few people at the very least that were interested and said, well, maybe if there's questions, we should ask them. What's the harm in asking questions? So you'll see what the graffiti said. We'll get into that and more. And we got a break coming up in about 25 seconds. So it's a crazy world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. I'm telling you, one day, we were on the way to crazy, but one day we all just woke up and we arrived in Crazy Town. I thought we still had a couple thousand miles to go, but apparently they decided to use the bullet train overnight and get us there a bit quicker. We can turn this all around, by the way. But it takes pointing this stuff out. Wait till I get into the raids on the dispensaries in Washington State. Just, really? Really? Hello, tyranny. Obama, the change you can believe in. What? You wanted legal cannabis? We'll be right back. So here in the USSA, when your state, the state that you live in, has an election and puts things up for a vote, and the citizens decide, well, this is what we want, and we're told that the citizens really rule things. Well, I guess not, because the evil empire stepped in and sent their DEA stormtroopers in, and the DEA raided some cannabis dispensaries in Washington State. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's now legal there. Oh, but the federal government doesn't say so. Where the hell are the sheriffs and the state police? Well, we can't stand up to the federal government. What are you guys, a bunch of pussies? That's your job. Guess what? Like it or not, cannabis is legal in your state. What does it say on your car? I don't know if it says it anymore. It used to say to serve and protect. You're supposed to go serve and protect the law. If you're not going to at least protect me, you are a law enforcement officer, correct? Well, why did you not stop the federal government from coming in and doing this? What you just saw was theft and thuggery. And all of you law enforcement officials that stood back and let it happen are cowards. All of you. Every last one of you is a coward. Go home and look at yourselves in the mirror tonight and call yourself coward while you look in your eyes like 3 to 5 times. Just keep saying it to yourself, coward, 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 because that's what you are. And if you didn't know about it, then that's even worse. Why are you not responding by going and rounding up the DEA agents? Why not go to the offices and arrest them? Oh, we can't do that. That would be bad publicity, right? Because I'm sure you guys knew about it. And if you didn't, you should be pissed off. And again, the non-action on it, the non-statements, again, all the politicians, all of you people, all of you people that are, we protect the law. Whether it be politicians, whether it be attorneys that work for the government, whether it be the police officers or the sheriff's department that work for the government, where were you? For everybody from the city police officers to the county sheriffs to the state police, where the hell were you guys? How about dropping the ball? Here's a news clip about the raids.
Number 1 at 5. King 5 News starts now.
Federal agents have been raiding marijuana dispensaries up and down the Puget Sound area today. Is this a sign of things to come under so-called legalized marijuana? The Drug Enforcement Agent seized marijuana from medical collectives in Seattle, Tacoma, and Olympia.
South Bureau Chief Drew Mickelson spoke with dispensary owners who are confused and upset tonight. Drew.
Well, Lori, the DEA won't say why it conducted the raids today, claiming this is all part of an ongoing investigation. But I will tell you, we spoke with the manager of one of the medical marijuana clinics here in Olympia that was raided, and he said he was totally caught off guard.
I thought that we were being robbed.
When 7 cars sped into the Bayside Gardens parking lot this morning, Manager Casey Lee told his employees to take cover.
And when I came out, I saw that there was guns drawn on me, and then I saw the badges and knew that it was not a robbery.
It was the Drug Enforcement Agency.
This had I believe 17 plants in it.
The federal agents cleaned them out, seizing about $2,500 worth of pot.
I mean, all the jars that you see on the shelf obviously had medicine in them.
They also took business records. Lee told the federal agents Bayside follows the state's medical marijuana laws, and they consider the pot they collect and distribute medicine. And he reminded them voters legalized pot last year. But he says the DEA told them marijuana is still illegal under federal law. The latest raids have Casey Lee and others in the industry questioning if they should stay in the business.
That's actually what one of the DEA agents asked us. They said, this is your second raid and your third robbery. Why do you keep doing this? And I just told him because we enjoy helping people, and he told us that he wasn't expecting that answer.
The manager at Bayside says that DEA agent told him that he should get out of the pot business because things are, quote, going to be hell for you. It's not clear why some of the collectives were hit. For example, the Healing Center behind us in downtown Olympia was not raided today, but as a precaution, the owners decided to shut down for a few hours just to be safe. Live in Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
So you have the federal government violating states' laws that, again, the voters decided that, hey, and as the guy said to the DEA agent, let me remind you that the voters of this state legalized this. They voted on it. They said, this is what we want. We are using our electoral process, which is what we're told runs things, and that we have to maintain order. And yet, their voices aren't being heard because they legalized it, and the federal government says, well, we don't care. Even though, I love the Obama administration, their stance on cannabis, by the way, is that it has no medicinal value. You can go look that up. It's the Obama administration stance on cannabis. Really. Even though there's proof all over the world, video proof, news stories, audio of people curing cancer with it. Nope, has no medicinal value. You're wrong. You're just a dirty hippie pothead that wants to smoke, and you're looking for any excuse to smoke pot. That's their reasoning. And there are, unfortunately, still people that believe that buy into that. Well, for those of you that understand the medicinal value of cannabis, I'd like to give you a piece of audio, a little audio treat, as it were. If you live in Washington or you live in one of the states where it's legal, right, and you can use it, whether it's medicinally or recreationally, you might want to check out this little audio clip. You can learn how to make your own medicine. I figured in the vein of the federal government ripping off sick people, I would like to at least... and this information, by the way, is free and available all over the internet. Look up Run from the Cure, the Rick Simpson story. The video is actually available over on federaljack.com. Scroll down on the right side, you'll see the widget. It's a picture of the oil inside of a plastic syringe. So you can go see it right there. Just click on the widget and it'll open up the page with the movie on it in a separate page. Go watch the movie and you'll hear the same piece of audio that I'm going to play for you. But let's re-air it for you all anyway, in the vein of the evil empire taking away sick people's medicine. Let's put the info out there so people can make their own medicine. Here you go. Cure yourself of multiple types of cancer and other ailments.
Sativa strains produce an oil that is a very good antidepressant and tends to energize a person. But most of the hemp oil I produce comes from indica strains. Indica strains tend to relax a person and give them more sleep. Rest and sleep are part of the healing process.
Place the starting material, preferably good bud, in a plastic container. Dampen the bud material in the container with the solvent you are using. Then crush the bud material. After the bud has been crushed, add more solvent until the material is completely covered. I generally use pure naphtha, but 99% isopropyl alcohol also works well as a solvent, as do many other substances. Work and stir the contents to let the THC dissolve into the solvent. This process takes 2 to 3 minutes. Drain the solvent from the starting material and put it through a coffee filter. The solvent now resembles the color of gasoline due to the presence of the hemp oil in the solvent. Make sure the area where you are going to boil the solvent off is very well ventilated. The idea is to carry the fumes away from the boiling solvent to reduce the danger of an explosion or fire. Special care must be taken to avoid red-hot elements or a spark of any kind that could ignite the fumes from the solvent. I have found that an electric rice cooker boils the solvent off very effectively. Bring the solvent oil mix in the rice cooker to a boil. Use a fan to carry the fumes from the solvent away. As the solvent boils off, continue adding more solvent oil mix until it is gone. As the level in the boiling pot comes down for the last time, add 8 to 10 drops of water. Since the boiling point of water is much higher than the boiling point of the solvent used, this water that was added allows the solvent to be released as the oil thickens. As the last of the solvent is being released, it is a good idea to lift the rice cooker and keep the contents in the cooker moving. This helps release any remaining solvent and also protects the oil from too much heat. At no time should the temperature of the oil go over 290 degrees Fahrenheit. Gently pour the oil from the rice cooker into a small metal container. Put this container with the oil into a dehydrator, or put the container on a gentle heating device such as a coffee warmer. It may take a few hours to evaporate the water off the oil. In the end, there should be no bubbling or other activity on the surface of the oil. When the oil is hot, it is quite runny, but as it cools, the oil takes on the consistency of a thick grease. Generally, a pound of good hemp bud will produce about 2 ounces of high-grade oil. Ingesting this amount of oil over a 2 to 3 month period is enough to cure most serious cancers.
Gee, and I wonder why they would be raiding the clinics and taking away medicine from sick people. It's absolutely disgusting. Oh, there's no proof. There's no scientific proof, and the misuse of cannabis could lead to death. Show me proof of that. If there's no proof that cannabis cures things, like some of these idiots will come out and try to say, there's no scientific studies, because the government forbids any quote-unquote official scientific studies. The scientific studies are the people that are using it to cure themselves. There's your case study. Go out and do some research. Oh, well, we can't because we can't tell if they were exposed to anything else. You know, stop it. Just stop with the excuses. A lot of these people, there's no medical proof, there's no scientific proof. There's plenty of proof. When you don't want to look, like when people say there's no scientific evidence that, 9/11 happened any other way than what the government's official version is, which that's changed a few times, but I don't want to digress too much. The powers that shouldn't be like to make fun of people like when they're attacking global warming, quote-unquote global warming deniers. Well, we don't have time to deal with flat earthers. Well, guess what? I could vault that right back at you. Same thing. Oh, there's no scientific evidence. Well, yeah, at one point I guess there was no scientific evidence that the earth was round, right? People thought it was flat. You want to go there? We can hurl things from both sides of the fence if you'd like, okay? I particularly don't take a side of the fence. I hover about 50 feet above it so I can see everything. At least 50 to 100 feet. Anyway. There's more than enough evidence out there that cannabis cures not only cancers, but all sorts of other issues. More than enough evidence. Government won't tell you that. Well, why? Look who they're controlled by. Medicine was taken over by a small cabal. Give you one guess what family took over most of the influence, if not all of it, on the medical community in the early 19th century. Even a little earlier. Starts with an R and ends with an R. The Rockefellers, amongst others. When you start to see the people that were involved in taking over health and the way that we eat, everything, because that's a big part of it. They changed everything to what we have today. There's people that think that if they don't go to the doctor, every month or, for every little ache and pain, they're going to die. I could never cure myself of that. Really? How did people do it before CVS came about? It was just mass deaths until CVS and Walgreens, right? And WebMD. I doubt it. Going to break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. So, who's going to hold who accountable? For one, here's a solution that I would at least start with, or something you could start with, a path to go down. If I were the citizens of Washington State, it doesn't matter if you don't live in the city or not. It doesn't matter if you don't think that, I don't think that, these people should be smoking cannabis. It does not matter. You know what? You just watch the federal government come in and blatantly violate state law. They pretty much, it's the equivalent of, if they were dogs, they walked up and they lifted their leg and they just pissed all over Washington State and said, you don't own this, we do. You might think you own this, but we own this. And the Washington State Police were, and the Washington, the sheriffs and the local police and the politicians and the government of the state of Washington, just they're the other dogs there. He came out, pissed all over their turf, and then pissed all over their faces, and they just put their heads down and they took it like a subservient little puppy. Anybody that has owned a male dog knows what I'm talking about. The dominant one will sometimes piss on the subservient ones in their faces or on them. It's a way of showing, like, I'm the dominant male. It's exactly what they just did to Washington State. Where are the sheriffs? Where are the local police? Where's the state police? And where's the government? They should all be having meetings right now, and they should be outraged, and they should be doing something about it. Why did the police not step in and try to stop it? Well, we don't want to cross that line. Oh, well, at least the residents of Washington know. You get a taste of things to come when they, if they ever want to do martial law roundups. Yeah, you know how well your local police departments and sheriff's departments are going to stick up for you guys. Good luck. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This is going to be, if people make it a big issue, let's see. You know, it could be a big issue. This could be something that gets turned into a national issue where you get enough people pissed off and angry about it. And, you know, perhaps this could be something that they have to, we'd force them to look at. It could be that. But people have to get angry about it and do something. And I suggest all the people in Washington State get pissed off, start writing, start calling, emailing, showing up at the state capitol, doing whatever you have to do. If you're in that city that they happened at, go to the city council, go to the police department and demand an answer. You know, ask. What I would do is don't just barge into the police station because that's retarded. If you guys get enough people calling City Hall together, I would demand City Council hold a special session, and then of course, like the police chief or they have to show up, and then usually other officers will show up there too. And I would invite, whoever you have to in these special sessions. If you have to get them locally going, at first, and then maybe have bigger meetings where it's the local officials meeting with county and state officials. But this needs to get people fired up. People need to get pissed off about this. They need to get together and start discussing this. This is a violation of your state's rights. Hello, Washington State. You've just had your state's rights violated by the federal government. The federal government is a Rottweiler that just walked over, lifted its right leg, and pissed in your faces. What are you going to do about it? They just called you out. Are you going to stand there and be a wimp? Or are you going to do something? And I'm not taunting you like we're, 10-year-olds on the playground. It's the real deal now. You guys sign up to defend not only the Constitution of the United States of America, but you all take oaths to your Constitution for your state. One of your state laws has just been violated by the federal government. What are you going to do? Ball's in your court, Washington State. And not only to the government, but also to the people. The citizens of the state. Hello? You people just made something legal and the federal government came in and pissed in your faces too. You should all get angry. Wake up. Do something about it. Literally make a federal case out of it. So, Washington State, you need to do something. You need to check yourself. Seriously, you guys really need to check your packages. Everybody, the whole state needs to do a package check. The federal government, or the state government, the local governments, the county governments, and then all of the law, the quote-unquote law enforcement agencies there. All of you guys need to do package checks. Your laws just got violated. Literally, the feds just came in and urinated all over everyone in that state, and by the way, that state is a beautiful state. I love Washington State. On my favorite state list since I was a little kid. It is literally a gorgeous state. Unfortunately, of course, the Fukushima radiation's hitting it, and a lot of their local and state-level politicians are morons. But hey, what state isn't at this point, right? On any of those, from Fukushima to the moron politicians. But anyway, Washington State, you guys have been called out. And, what are you going to do to man up? I challenge the whole state to step up. Look, there's a lot of good people in that state. There's a lot of good activists in that state that do a lot of hardcore work and hardcore activism. You guys all need to band together. And, I mean, common ground. They're literally, the feds just came in and yanked medicine away from sick people. That's disgusting. That's all I have to say is it's absolutely disgusting. All right, there's a few other things I want to get to, so I got to shift gears a bit. I'll get into the DOT thing that I was talking about in a second. But first, I want to play another audio clip for you really quick. I wanted to play this the other day, but I didn't have time. It's Mark Dice. He gets out there and he gets people the Obama supporters out in California to sign some of the most, just insane stuff. And I mean, it's not like they can feign ignorance because they're listening to him talk. And if they actually paid attention to the words that are coming out of his mouth, they'd be like, what? Only once in a while do they get somebody that actually pays attention. But Mark got Obama supporters to sign a petition to grant him immunity for all crimes that he commits while he's in office. I can't make this up. Listen to this. I just, humor / face palm. Just listen to this.
We're just getting signatures to grant Obama immunity for when he gets out of office. We help to support the president, and these Republicans just print and sign. What we're doing is we want to just show immunity. Print there, sign there. If he's under fire, and so we're just going to print there, please, and sign there. We just need to get behind the president and show that we will grant him immunity for any crimes that he may have committed. I'm sure that he has a good reason for doing that, and a lot of people are after him, trying to get him, so we're just showing that the people will grant Obama immunity for anything he's done. Thanks for supporting his crimes.
No problem.
If Obama is charged with a crime, I'm sure that it's just racist white Republicans that are making stuff up about him. And so we just want to make sure that the citizens are behind him, granting him immunity.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Just print there real quick. What we're doing is we're just gathering signatures to show that the people support Obama's crimes and that will grant him immunity. Anything, here, print there, please. Mm-hmm. Just print there. And a birth date and a signature. We're just gathering signatures to give Obama immunity for any crimes he may have committed in office. I'm sure that he's had a good reason for doing those things. And a signature to support granting immunity to Obama's criminal activity. Just, we need to get behind the president no matter what he does, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for granting that. We support Obama and we'll help to show him that we're going to grant him immunity once he's out of office, just to show support for everything he's done for us. Just print, birth date, and sign. And we're going to just be sure to grant Obama immunity for any crimes that he may have committed in office. I'm sure he had a good reason for doing that. So, yeah, signature there. Thank you so much for supporting immunity for Obama's crimes.
No problem. You have a good day.
You too. Wow. A lot of babes out here today. Yeah, just print, birth date, and a signature. I mean, Obama deserves immunity, and anybody that tries to charge him with a crime is obviously a racist of some kind. So thanks for supporting his immunity.
All right. You continue to have a great day.
Appreciate it, bro. Anybody who's disagreeing with Obama or wants to indict him is obviously just a racist of some kind. Birth date there. And these racists need to stop accusing Obama of crimes and we're just going to grant him immunity for anything that he has done. Thank you so much. You sign a petition to support that, and I won't say anything about you having a joint in your mouth at the moment.
I appreciate that. What's the date today?
That's birthday.
Oh, my birthday.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
And basically, did you sign there too? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just going to make sure that Obama can get away with whatever he wants to, just like you can get away with smoking that doobie right now.
It's nice.
Have a good day, bro. Do they care if you're out? It's like if they smell it, you're out in public anymore?
No, I don't let him get an upper hand on me.
And
Why, you get paid by something?
Obama got into office because that's your birthday there, to support giving immunity to Obama's crimes. And a signature too, please, to support the crimes that Obama's committed. Thank you for granting him immunity.
What are you committed?
Well, he's done a bunch of things, the Operation Fast and Furious and all these. He's broken some laws, but, he has to. So,
Yeah.
Thank you. Have you been drinking?
No.
Okay, thought I smelled alcohol. Just print their birthday. And, I'm sorry. I can't hold a straight face.
And the sad part is there wasn't anybody that disagreed with him. Usually there's at least one or two people that'll, usually one, maybe two people that'll be like, what are you, nuts or something? But no. And who knows, I mean, he could have edited it out, but it just goes to show you, most people, first of all, it shows you a bunch of things. A, people will blindly support their guy who's in office, unquestioningly. I mean, they turned off. You see how tuned out people are? He's sitting there saying, we're going to grant him immunity for his crime. First of all, there was only one person, at least it shows in the video, that asked him, what crimes did he commit? And when he brings up Fast and Furious, and her demeanor changes, and he noticed that. That's why he made a little joke about, have you been drinking? Because, maybe that's my just analysis of seeing the video of it, but you could see her demeanor change because she probably looked at that like some sort of conservative talking point. And maybe this could be a stunt. So, who knows? Maybe that's my analysis of what she was thinking. But the point is, none of them really questioned about it. They just signed it. And first of all, why are you signing anything with your name and your date of birth? And I think some of them were putting that. I don't know if some of them have ever put their address down. He doesn't ask for their social security number, but he asks for date of birth, name, and I think he said address. But people, I mean, even your date of birth and your name, why would you willingly put that on a piece of paper? And time after time, he gets people to sign this stuff, and they're like, yeah, here you go, thank you. Talk about identity theft. Hello, morons. Duh, hello. Pay attention, McFly. Anybody home? Seriously. It's 2013. Everywhere you look, there's a commercial for, oh my God, identity theft. And yet you walk down the street and just put your name on a piece of paper for anybody holding a clipboard. You don't even know who the person holding the clipboard is. I'm not bashing Dicer, in any way either. I'm not saying he's, going to do anything with the information. What I'm saying is, what happens if it wasn't Mark? What happens if it's, some nefarious person that wants to steal identities? What happens? What happens when it's not just somebody standing there taking a poll? What happens when it's somebody in an official-looking outfit telling people, line up, it's for your own good. Do this, do that, it's for your own good. Turn in your own neighbor, it's for your own good. Think some of these brainless tools will do it? I do. I mean, they just sign things without even... It's like, are you listening to the words that are coming out of his mouth? I mean, some of the stuff he says is just incredible. Absolutely off-the-wall things he gets people to sign petitions for. You've all heard it. I mean, this one's a pretty big doozy. But I mean, he got them signing one for I don't know if I played it where he had them thinking. I think I played it where he had them thinking that Joe Biden was dead. I don't know if I ever played that one. He had a bunch of people in California thinking that Joe Biden was dead. People didn't even know who Joe Biden was. I'm not kidding. Here, listen.
Thoughts on Joe Biden getting killed in that car accident last week?
I didn't hear about it. I don't pay much on the news.
Do you know who Joe Biden was?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Stuff. I gotta go.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Hey, do you know why the roads closed ahead?
No.
Joe Biden was murdered here last night.
Oh, really?
Are you familiar with that?
Is that a sports player?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. I don't know who that is.
Just doesn't ring a bell.
It doesn't. So.
Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Hello. McFly. It's they have the parking lot closed off over here because it's a crime scene. Joe Biden was murdered there last night.
I didn't know that.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Joe who?
Joe Biden.
Who's that?
Joe Biden was murdered here last night.
I don't know who that is.
Don't know who Joe Biden is. Okay, zombie. We're talking about Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah?
Ring a bell?
Yeah, I know who he is, but I don't know anything about him.
What does he do?
Isn't he a politician?
What position is he in?
No idea.
You don't know what position he's in?
No, I don't.
Okay, zombie. Joe Biden, the name Joe Biden, ring a bell?
Somewhat. Joe Biden. Give me ring my bell.
Did you hear about Joe Biden passing away last month?
No.
I guess he was out surfing and hit some rocks or something.
I had no idea.
You know Joe Biden?
Yes.
What did he do? How did you know him?
He was, wasn't he, I don't know, some political guy or something like that. I'm not exactly sure.
Not sure. Did you hear that Joe Biden drowned in a surfing accident last weekend?
I'm not aware of.
Did you know Joe?
Not really.
You don't know who Joe Biden is?
No.
Hey, what do you think about Joe Biden drowning last week in a surfing accident?
Don't know anything about it. Don't really follow the news.
You're not familiar with the Joe Biden surfing accident?
No.
You have any good memories of Joe that you want to share with us?
Don't know anything about Joe.
You don't know Joe?
Anybody who's drowned surfing, though, it's a bummer.
You didn't know Joe Biden? You don't know who he is? You didn't hear about Joe Biden getting killed in a car accident?
I did not hear anything about that, man. So what happened? Tell me a little bit about it.
Do you know who Joe? You know Joe Biden?
I know who he is, but I don't know too much about him. You know?
What did he do for work? You remember?
No, not really.
First of all, I love how people lie. Oh yeah, I know who he is. No, you don't. Obviously, you have no clue. This, by the way, is a huge indicator of what comes out of our educational system. I'm doing air quotes. Our educational system now. Remember I said teachers aren't allowed to teach? This is what comes out when teachers aren't allowed to teach. And they're only allowed to teach the kids to regurgitate things. The deliberate dumbing down of America is what you just heard. That's why I played that. Charlotte Iserby's book, In the Flesh. We'll be right back. Proof that there's hope, ladies and gentlemen. Proof that there is hope amongst the ignorance of the masses. Let's listen to what graffiti artists are doing in Connecticut.
Some daring story of some daring vandals painting graffiti on highways in our state, and their crimes, as you can see here, have a lot of people talking, and the state is not too happy about how these people are trying to get their message across. Driving anywhere around Metro Hartford, you've certainly seen those 9/11 Truth spray-painted signs.
Channel 3's Hannah Daniels.
The what? The 9/11 Truth spray-painted signs. Oh, now it makes more sense why they're attacking. I mean, no one likes graffiti. Well, at least no city officials do. Personally, a lot of the graffiti that's out there, not the gang symbols and stuff like that, but the murals and stuff, and a lot of the stuff that these freelance graffiti artists, not people that are affiliated with gangs or anything, just these people that go out and do their thing. That stuff is art. I don't care what anybody says. That's not garbage. That's art. But anyway, I digress. Maybe, by the way, maybe if the city used some of the funds to erect like a block-long wall somewhere, and then the artist could come along and they could paint like sections of it, with white primer, and then paint, put murals and stuff up on it. I don't know. Perhaps maybe there's a way to do things. Maybe cut down on graffiti on other buildings. I don't know. A solution, perhaps. But why should we give them a wall to paint on? Blah blah blah. Because they'll give you beautiful murals, moron. Allow the artists to showcase their stuff. Anyway, we only have a few minutes. Let me play this.
Explains what it all means and the lengths that one state agency is going to cut down on it.
Driving around central Connecticut, it's hard to miss some of the graffiti popping up on bridges, overpasses, and road signs. 9/11 Truth, WTC, Building 7, all phrases scrawled across overpasses on some major highways. The State Department of Transportation is fed up with the graffiti, but doesn't have enough resources to keep up with it.
It's finite resources. There are a lot of needs out there, and there are limited funds.
And it's the taxpayers picking up the tab.
I would estimate that annually we spend probably $500,000 to $1 million dealing with graffiti.
But what does 9/11 Truth even mean, and who is climbing up onto these bridges to do it? Wayne Costy is a member of a group called the Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. He's not sure who the vandals are, but he does know about the message they're trying to spread.
The official story about what happened doesn't seem to add up.
Costy is a structural engineer who got involved with the group about 3 years ago to try to answer his own lingering questions about the science behind the building collapses on 9/11. As for what the Building 7 graffiti refers to,
And most people don't even know that a third major skyscraper was destroyed on September 11th.
Building 7 wasn't hit by a plane, but collapsed after a fire. Folks like Costy contend the science behind that explanation doesn't add up and believe it was an explosion that brought it down. He says he doesn't condone the graffiti, but could see why it keeps popping up.
There's somebody who's frustrated that the story isn't getting out.
The controversial graffiti can be spotted in places that are pretty tough to reach by the average person.
The folks that are doing this are using some kind of specialized equipment, rappelling harnesses, etc.
Risky moves by vandals put more than just their own safety at risk.
They're putting the public at risk if they fall or something falls. You have cars below, people below. And then you're putting our staff at risk because we have to go out there and deal with it.
DOT crews work on cleaning up the graffiti only when pressing issues are resolved. One thing is certain, the graffiti has people talking and wondering.
If there's some sort of truth that needs to be revealed that we haven't seen yet, I would be open to that.
I don't have a problem with it. And others are just tired of the mess.
Whoever created this type of environment should really look at the damage.
We may not know who's doing it, but DOT says the sooner they get it painted, then it just pops up again.
There are places for people to express their opinions and beliefs. Vandalizing state infrastructure is not one of them.
Hannah Daniels, Channel.
Oh, God. Vandalizing state infrastructure is not one of them. Well, one solution to a lot of the graffiti, I can't say as for the 9/11 Truth stuff because, well, until the truth comes out, that stuff's not going to stop. And perhaps if they had a different way of getting it across, they would. But, you won't allow them. The system, I should say, won't allow them. So the truth's going to come out one way or not, whether you like it or not. And as for the remaining graffiti, well, again, cities could really easily stop this problem with just erecting a wall like a block long. So use some of the funds and have certain rules about what basic simple stuff like no crude pictures or anything like that, no depictions of sex or anything like that because it's out in public, but no gang symbols and stuff, and you have somebody monitor it. You can have the gang units drive around and keep an eye on it, but allow people to express their art on it, man. That would solve a problem and have a spot for people to go and check out the artists doing their thing and the beautiful art that they create. But no, that would create actually a solution and, push art, and that creates, that pushes creative thought. And well, we can't have that because that's not what they want, right? Wrong. That's what they want. They don't want you to think. But that's not what we're going to do. We're going to think outside the box. We're going to be free. We're not going to be slaves. We're going to love things like art that cause you to think. Music. Other humans. Reconnect with everything. That's how we're going to defeat the Dark New World Order. We're out of time, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch you all again tomorrow night. Love you all. I'm out of here.